Good evening. Welcome back to this third segment of the Glazov Gang. In this episode, we are joined by three modern-day freedom fighters. Our Glazov Gang members this evening: Nonie Darwish, the author of the new book, The Devil We Don't Know; Eric Allen Bell of globalinfidel.tv; and Dr. Nancy Bonus, the founder of a new organization that's fighting on behalf of human rights called Protecting American Values. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this program. Very fascinating first two segments. And a lot of information coming from all of you, and thank you very much, but also very troubling and frightening information. Nancy Bonus, you are somewhat of, or very much big time, an expert on the threats to this country. You sent me a video of Yuri Bezmenov, a former KGB agent that gave a fascinating interview, who was discussing how the enemy actually brainwashes this nation and incapacitates us from actually doing anything about it. I want to show a very quick clip of what Yuri Bezmenov, a former KGB agent, said.
According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
Now what Yuri Bezmenov is saying there, I think, can very much apply to what we are discussing today. For instance, the way that the Obama administration is actually doing the bidding of the Muslim Brotherhood. The same way that the KGB, and what Bezmenov is saying, that the KGB succeeded in incapacitating many Americans during the Cold War from them even being able to defend themselves. Today we see a stealth jihad that we can't do anything about. Nancy, thank you for sending that clip to us. Why did you send me that clip, and what did you have in mind when you sent it?
Well, the reason I sent it to you is because the ideological subversion that was started back in the 50s and 60s with the Soviets coming to our country to brainwash the nation, as he says, it didn't just end with the Cold War at all. As a matter of fact, it's continued and continued. That's why the school system today is very socialist and America-hating, and teaches children that the founders were slave owners and they're bad, and Columbus was bad to come here, and nothing good about America. And excuse me, it makes it really, it's gone on generation after generation after generation. It didn't stop with the Cold War. That's the problem. And this kind of brainwashing in hating America, and also the Balkanization, separating women's issues and gays' issues and blacks' issues and all that, what that has done is, instead of from many one, which it used to be e pluribus unum, it's now this one and the environmentalists and everything. And so this makes it very ripe for Islam to take over. The reason is because they present themselves as a victim class. The women present themselves as a victim class. The blacks present themselves as a victim class, which of course they were during slavery. And anyone that presents themselves as a victim class is going to get kudos and be embraced today. It didn't stop with the Cold War, and that's the poison tree, and all of these other things, communism, Marxism, Islamism, are the branches of the tree.
Thank you very much, Eric.
It seems to me like the left made some progress in the 60s and 70s, and then overshot the mark and created a monster that we don't know how to put back in the cage. So the idea that women should have equal rights to men, I think, was a good idea. That we should have civil rights was a good idea, and several others. But then it got carried away. And then I grew up in the 70s and 80s in the public school system. It was drilled into our heads there's absolutely no difference between men and women at all. And they changed the name of the Learning Center to the Multicultural Room. And we were taught that all of the cultures are of equal value. No culture is better or worse.
That's what's handicapping.
If you have a culture where they cut off your hand for stealing, that's just a wonderful cultural difference. How interesting.
Yeah, except cultural relativism goes out the window when they start criticizing, let's say, the evangelical right, or in the past South Africa, etc. Then all of a sudden, they can't judge cultures.
Hypocrisy is unbelievable.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was also in terms of brainwashing. Before I go, wait, Nonie, you seem like you have a twinkle in your eye. So what you wanted to say?
Well, I like that video very much because it really showed me how all totalitarian ideologies think the same.
Mhm.
If you look at Islamism and communism and socialism,
Right.
they all use the same tactic. The first thing was demoralization, and you make the people unable to distinguish or assess the reality. When you tell them a story, let's say this boy whipping a street sweeper in the street, if you show this to the public in Egypt, for instance, they're used to it. They are unable to distinguish that this is a horrible violation of human rights.
Right.
They would probably ask, what did he do? When you show them a video of a woman being stoned, they don't go to the ABCs of thinking of, this should not happen.
Mhm.
The first question they say is, what did she do?
Right.
Did she commit adultery? So their value system becomes so, they're unable to distinguish morality of what's their priorities here.
Well, that was
And
what the
the-
demoralization
And
was.
this is
It was
part of the
taking away our
demoralization.
morals.
Exactly, and it makes them unconsciously accept tyranny.
Right.
And then you get into the destabilization and the crisis, creating a crisis.
Which is
So
where we're at
I
now.
I see this moving to America. I see them telling the American people, Sharia is not that bad.
Remember
Okay, once-
Obama's aide who said never let a crisis
Yeah,
go to waste?
and then a
Absolutely.
crisis. We are in the stage of crisis in America today, and that crisis is being purposely done in America.
But ladies,
And they are going to come and solve the problem, the
Thank you,
socialists.
Thank you. But ladies and gentlemen, also the brainwashing in terms of, we actually have been so brainwashed by the left throughout the Cold War today by both of the members of the Unholy Alliance that we actually can't be proud even of our own civilization. For instance, if you point out, if you're talking about women's rights with a member of the radical left, and this person starts saying the right to abortion, etc., but the moment you bring up female genital mutilation or forced marriage or honor killings in an Islamic country, they just go mute because they've been even taught that we cannot criticize other cultures.
Cultural
especially if it's-
relativism.
It's like there's
Yes.
thought police, the thought police will know. It is absolutely unacceptable to the liberal mindset that any minority group could ever be in the wrong about anything ever. And because they have a collectivist way of thinking, when I say Islam, they hear Muslims.
Right.
So if I say I'm against Islam, what they heard was I'm against Muslims.
That's a great
and then they
point.
say Muslim minority
But that's how
minority
they
groups
were
can't be
conditioned.
wrong.
That's how they're
That's how
conditioned.
Because if they're wrong, I must be a racist.
Those people in
That's a
America who
fantastic
think this
point.
way are conditioned by the people who are actually doing.
This is the problem with conditioning in general.
Yeah,
These
but-
stages of
But
brainwashing.
Glazov Gang,
They have made the American, they have dumbed down
Dumbed
the
down.
American way of thinking.
but not just dumbed down, thank you, wait a minute, dumbed down, absolutely, thank you very much, Donnie, but also giving us a vocabulary. The very word Islamophobia,
And racism.
It's
and
an irrational
they don't-
fear.
but who gave us that term?
Well,
The
it's
left-
my understanding
the
it
left
came
gave
from
it,
care.
right?
But the
It's-
Muslim Brotherhood.
But the Muslim
Right.
Brotherhood learned it from the left.
They're
Right,
destroying
but
us with our own hands.
Exactly.
The Muslim Brotherhood actually is using communist
Right.
tactics.
Absolutely.
But what
And
happened-
actually they learned a lot from
And
Germany.
Nazi tactics
The same
also.
tactics, the same even cartoons.
Yes.
The German
Yes,
cartoons, the same
absolutely.
cartoons. I used to read these cartoons in Al-Ahram, in Al-Arab,
But the
in
nation-
Arabic media. The same cartoons.
But Nani, the Nation magazine just had a special on Islamophobia,
Right.
but
Yes.
that very word is given to us by the enemy.
But-
Listen, here's the deal.
Absolutely.
Here's what people don't understand about counter-jihad, you know. Counter-jihad is an empowering movement. It's not a hate movement. It's about empowering the individual. Islam means submission. Liberty means you own you. Liberty is a founding principle upon which America was built. Liberty and Islam cannot coexist.
Right.
It's an either or. And counter-jihad is about liberty, and liberty is an American value.
And you've seen these signs at the protests in Britain where the Islamists are holding up signs that say, freedom go to hell, or things like that.
Of course,
Because you know why they're saying that? Because
Yes.
they bite. The Europeans are fed up of freedom. I don't believe Europeans are believing
They're
in the freedom
socialists. They're
anymore.
socialists.
They want to rely on government.
Yes.
And Islam comes and notices this change in European culture and is using it.
I'll give you an
there.
example. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 53,000 square foot mega mosque being built. The money man's name is Abdul Khatif. I'm about to leak a document where he specifically says it should be illegal in the United States to mock the prophet.
Wow.
That's what he's
Oh,
doing
wow.
in our backyard in
We're gonna
his
have
mega
blasphemy laws
mosque. That
right
will
here.
be on front page magazine.
I believe Obama, if he wins the second term, he's going to make America a member of the OIC, the organization.
I think we are in
La-
our-
la- Ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time. Before we go from each of you, obviously it is so clear that there's something in your hearts that's motivating you in this struggle for freedom. And I want to end on a personal note. Let's begin with you, Nancy. What is it that inspires you, that gives you that courage to fight in your heart? Why do you care about this issue so much, as opposed to the
I was a child abuse victim, and I was a battered child and an incest victim, and I grew up and I married an alcoholic batterer. And I was filled with shame. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I hated myself. I felt I didn't deserve to live, and I found a wonderful group for battered women and incest victims, and it really it turned me around and made me feel that I needed to fight against bullies and batterers and people, because I had a lot of lies told about me. I lost my whole family because I told what was happening to me. They all shamed me, turned against me, and when I went through this program for victims, one of the steps was that we were supposed to carry a message of hope to others who are still suffering under oppression and battering and everything. And I took it very personally. And this is what I see happening in our country. And I really feel it's my duty to spread a message of hope and to shine a light on the darkness. And that's where I come from, my personal story.
Nancy, thank you so much, and our hearts are also with you.
I have a lot
Thank
of
you.
respect for you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
It's also incredible, as I was listening to that, how many of the people on the radical left pretend that they're victims. And in fact, what Nancy's referring to, I wonder how many of them really even know what it is to be a victim of abuse.
No, I
And perhaps that's why they're so heartless to it. Eric?
You know, similar pathology, have been through similar, abuse in my own life, but I don't think that's what drives me. What drives me is I'm being true to my nature. It is in my self-interest and in the collective interest. I think we are naturally born knowing that we're supposed to make a contribution. And I think when I'm true to my nature is, while in the short period of time I'm here, make a contribution. As it turns out, that works out for me because I enjoy it. It's true to me. So that's really all there is to it. And I would just add to that one other thing. I don't need the government to tell me that that's compulsory. I can do that on my own because there's a goodness in all of us, where we don't need the government to tell us to be good. We'll be good on our own.
Nonie Darwish.
I personally was touched by Islam in a very bad way. I am a victim of Islam. My mother is a victim of Islam. She went through the process of female genital mutilation. Thank God she didn't do it to us. So I know exactly, I've seen our maids and maids around our neighborhood being beaten. I've seen street sweepers being slapped. I grew up in this kind of slave mentality, and I lost my father to the jihad. And I'm not here to to act like I'm a victim or anything, but America saved my life. America saved my life, and I owe it to America. A lot of people say, oh, you're so brave. But you know what? It's not me who's brave, it's America that's brave. I get my bravery from America, from the love of this Constitution. And I will do anything for this country, and that's why I'm motivated.
Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. A very moving, I think, crucial program. Thank you for joining us. I will end with this, that I was sitting with a hero of the modern world, Vladimir Bukovsky, who was a dissident in the Soviet Union that did many years in prison because he fought for freedom. And one day he said to me at the dinner table, I am not a victim, I'm a soldier. And I feel that we have 3 soldiers with us this evening. Thank you for fighting for freedom in the modern world. Thank you very much. Join us next week for another edition of the Glazov Gang.